Hello everybody, it's Ezra time again and welcome back to another reaction videos. And today I'm gonna be reacting to film theory how Pennywise beat Pennywise in chapter 2. Um okay. How Pennywise beat Pennywise. What does that mean? This video obviously by matpat once again, and I was wondering that I was wondering like he is he gonna do like it chapter 2 theory, because in the it like he kind of did it chapter 1 theory that, and especially that it and the Shining was actually connected in some way. I mean, it's Stephen King universe anyway, that we all know that at some capacity it was connected in some way. So yeah, I'm really, really curious to see what how Pennywise beat Pennywise actually mean. So without further ado, let's just get into the video, shall we?
Don't get me wrong, I really enjoy the new It movies. Super creepy, great cast, striking imagery, but man, does it push the limits of believability. Cannibal space clowns from outer space living in small town Maine, fine. Intergalactic space turtles puking up the universe, been there, done that, no problem. What I'm talking about is this. Mike, in the movie, calls all of these people, and they all answer the phone, even though he's listed as an unknown number. That has got to be the craziest thing that happens in either of these two movies. I mean, what is this? Some kind of alternate universe where there's no spam callers? Because if so, I want to live there. Even if I do have to dodge a murder clown every couple of decades. Seems like a small price to pay. Hello, Internet! Welcome to Film Theory, where the only it to fear is it itself. And maybe also fortune cookies stuffed with weird eyeball monsters. Today we're talking about the movie franchise with the least optimized title for the internet, It. More specifically, we're looking at the ending of It Chapter 2, which everyone on the internet has tried to explain, and which everyone has failed in doing. Yeah, shots fired and all that, but honestly, I can't blame them. The ending as it's presented in this movie is weird and confusing and not super clear. I don't think even the directors really knew what was going on. Anyway, as the plot goes, the main characters perform a ritual that has a wacky name, the Ritual of Chewed. It fails for reasons that go completely unexplained. The scary clown then transforms into a scary clown spider, and then a few CGI chase scenes later, the heroes are suddenly able to win through the power of negging. Again, through no apparent reason that goes explained. That's a real good message, by the way. Be petty and mean, and you can conquer the cosmos' greatest evil. But in all seriousness, the ending here is just flimsy. Why did the Ritual of Chewed fail the first time? What suddenly changed that allowed the Losers Club to suddenly be able to defeat the clown? If that ritual was gonna end up being pointless the entire time, were the repeated fetch quests to find tokens in the middle of the movie a complete waste of time too? Because if so, please, why didn't you cut them? This was nearly a 3-hour movie. My bladder was about to pop at the end of this thing. But in all seriousness, I didn't really have an answer for any of these questions. Neither do other videos on YouTube. Heck, even Stephen King's original source material is wishy-washy on a lot of that stuff. But after seeing the movie a couple more times, this time with smaller big gulps because I learned my lessons, I'm convinced that we all misunderstood the big climax of the Losers Club story. I've got a theory, a film theory, that for all of Pennywise's talk of the Ritual of Chewed not working not only for the Losers Club, but also for the ancient native tribe who tried it before them, by the end of the film, the Ritual of Chewed is indeed the reason he's able to be defeated. That the first failed ritual of the club, and that Pennywise's subsequent defeat, all boil down to two main things. One, the tokens that the losers collected weren't enough to complete the ritual, and two, one of them didn't even bring the right token to the fight. Yeah, that's right, one of these bozos didn't even manage to snag their token in the first place. So today, let's take a moment to find out why the losers should have died, and how they accidentally found their way to defeating the universe's scariest circus freak. In case you forgot, or more reasonably just gave the Ritual of Chewed a big ol' eye roll when you saw It Chapter 2, let's briefly recap, shall we? The ritual requires each participant to bring a token of their past trauma to its underground lair. They're then meant to destroy the tokens, in the process trapping Pennywise, or more accurately his true form, the Deadlights, in an authentic tribal lantern Mike clearly purchased from Pier 1 Imports. And it's this golden ticket hunt for tokens that sets us up on our extended sequence of mid-movie fetch quests, full of naked CGI grandmas and more over-the-top jump scares than a Five Nights at Freddy's game. Eddie finds his inhaler, Richie gets an arcade token, Bill recovers his dead brother's paper boat, Mike gets the rock that they used to fight against the town bully in the first movie, Bev gets the romantic haiku that Ben wrote for her when they were kids, and Ben reveals that he's still got the yearbook page Bev signed all those years ago. The six descend into Pennywise's lair, burn those items, or heat up Mike's rock, since, you know, it's
Well,
rock.
I mean,
The
yeah.
deadlights descend into the lantern, and then nothing. Pennywise escapes immediately without any level of difficulty. He taunts that the Native American tribe, the Shakapiwa, once used this same technique before, and that it didn't work then either. But, you know, at this point in the movie, Mike is a guy who literally brought all of his friends who are rich and successful and famous back to a bummer of a town to fight a killer cosmic clown, using a
Yeah.
strategy that he knew failed the first time. So, you know, his word is kinda garbage at this point. But still, what the movie never really answers is what went wrong for the Losers Club and for the whatchamacallit tribe from centuries before. Those are the mechanics of the Ritual of Chute after all, and that's exactly what they do. So is the ritual itself just flawed? Well, to understand, we have
maybe.
to first look at what the ritual actually means. It's not just about burning some stuff. It's about destroying your past. Mike's instructions to the group were technically true. Find and destroy the tokens of your traumatic past. But he actually missed that the point of the ritual was to get over the things from your past that you're afraid of, because that is what it actually feeds off of. To truly destroy the things, not so much in a physical sense, but in a symbolic sense. Sure, the mechanics are physically destroying things, but to successfully perform the Ritual of Chute, you have to destroy the trauma associated with those things. TLDR, what Mike really should have done was have the gang enroll in a lot of therapy, and then once they dealt with their issues, then come back to town to destroy the cosmic clown. But in all seriousness,
I mean-
if you look at these mid-movie fetch quests, sure, several members of the gang face some harrowing experiences to get their tokens, but do any of them actually overcome their fears in the process? Let me save you the
no.
thinking time. No, they
Yeah,
do not.
no.
Bill is lured to a sewer by his dead brother Georgie's voice calling for help. Bill reaches in, desperately trying to rescue his brother, who again
Yeah.
is dead. In the end, he fishes Georgie's boat out of the sewer after getting attacked by thousands of zombie baby hands. So he technically got his token, but did this experience force him to overcome the fear and guilt that he still has about Georgie's death? No. In fact, it shows the exact opposite, that he's not over Georgie's death. Despite
Yeah,
being an adult
obviously.
who knows that his brother is dead, he still clings to this belief that he can somehow rescue Georgie. He's living
27
in
years later.
denial. Sure, after that encounter, he manages to rescue the token, but the token is meaningless. Let's look at another example. Bev is able to grab Ben's postcard from the hiding spot in her old home, but the apartment is still haunted, literally by her history and the history of it, but also figuratively by the specter of fathers, both Pennywise and Bev's own father. Like Bill, she doesn't actually confront her fears here. She's just confronted by a giant naked CGI woman. She literally
Yeah.
runs for her life, running away from Pennywise, running away from that old woman, running away from her father. All of it without achieving any sort of closure on her childhood abuse. Same goes for Eddie, who faces the leper in the basement of the pharmacy, symbol of his old hypochondria. He does what he needs to do to grab his inhaler token and then immediately runs away from the shop, afraid. Richie grabs his literal token of a token from the
Token,
arcade,
yeah.
which honestly has almost nothing to do with his secret shame of being gay, something that we're going to touch on more here in a minute. Most of his token getting takes place in flashbacks, so he's not even dealing with his fears in real time, at least until the end of the scene where he finally also runs away from Pennywise in broad daylight in the middle of a public park. He tells himself that Pennywise isn't real, but when he opens his eyes, nope, Pennywise is still there, meaning that the fear is still there, showing pretty clearly that Richie still has demons that he doesn't want to talk about. Even Ben and Mike, the two losers who already had their tokens, haven't really gotten over the fears that those tokens represent. Ben, whose token is the yearbook page that only Beverly signed, has literally been carrying that page with him every day of his life. life. Let me rephrase that. He's carrying a symbol of his loneliness and unrequited love on his person for over 20 years. Doesn't get more not over it than that. And as we see in the opening scenes of the movie, adult Ben is still a loner. Sure, he's super rich and successful, but he's at home. He's alone in his massive house, refusing to attend meetings in person. He's isolated, just like he was when he was a kid. Isolated, and even when given the chance mid-movie, still hiding his true feelings about Bev. Still allowing her to think that it was Bill who wrote her that poem so many years ago. And then there's Mike showing up with his rock, which honestly makes sense. But what is the true essence of that token? Mike's issue in the first movie was that he was shunned as an outcast. And even though it seems like he's been integrated into the town of Derry, he hasn't. He's the only one in town who knows what's happening and who hasn't forgotten his own past, making him an outsider. He's also the only member of the Losers Club to stay back in Derry, thereby making him an outsider again, but this time to his very own friends, the Losers. And then he lies to the whole group about the ritual of Chewed. He tells them that the ritual has worked in the past, but it hasn't. And that truth doesn't come out until Pennywise spills the beans at the end of the movie. Mike is ashamed and afraid to admit the truth to his friends. Clearly, he doesn't feel like he belongs here. So now that we've seen how the Losers have overcome practically nothing by the end of the second half of this movie, it becomes a little clearer why their token burning during the final battle isn't effective. These objects are still just that. They're objects. They're hollow. They're meaningless. So when they burn, nothing happens. And so when Pennywise pops out in all his spider clown glory, it's not a shock. The ritual doesn't work because they didn't believe. There was no substance behind what they were doing. And instead of getting rid of their problems, all they've gotten rid of are a couple of pieces of moldy paper and an old shower cap. So then how do the Losers end up winning? What changes between this moment and the end of the movie? Well, now the gang actually has to get over their issues, and they have to do it in a hurry. And that's why the entire next sequence of the movie is all about the Losers Club yet again going on secret personal missions about their past trauma. Only this time, when they're forced to confront that trauma, they get over it. For Mike, Pennywise already outed him, so as soon as he confesses to the group that he was actually lying about the ritual of Chewed and starts being an actual team player, well, Mike's in the clear. His friends learn the truth and they didn't abandon him. Boom, his token suddenly has meaning. The others in this sequence are a bit more complicated. Ben and Bev have to go through everyone's two worst fears, getting buried alive and having to touch anything in a public restroom. Ben is finally forced to let go of that torch he's been carrying for Bev all those years to avoid being literally buried in his past, while Bev confronts herself as an adult and lets go of her adolescent trauma so she can reach out in a literal and figurative sense to make another human connection with Ben. Bill, meanwhile, has to shoot himself with a sheep dart, which is just a weird moment that I don't want to linger on for risk of demonetization, but suffice it to say that the thing he's actually killing isn't a person, it's his guilt and shame over the loss of his brother. So with those four finally overcoming their issues, we cut back to the fight to find Eddie and Richie still mostly avoiding their problems, literally running away again from the scary, not scary doors. And then Richie gets caught in the deadlights. Suddenly, Eddie, whose fears this entire time have been imaginary diseases from his hypochondria, has to finally decide what the real danger in his life is. As a child, he was told that everything was dangerous, so overcoming his fear naturally involves the realization that it actually is all in his head. That loved ones being in trouble is the real thing to fear here. He convinces himself that the spear he's holding will damage Pennywise, and he throws it, and it does, which shows us that Eddie now understands that he controls his own fate, that what he believes is true can become a reality. And in the process, Eddie manages to save Richie. Unfortunately for Eddie, though, it wasn't all in his head, since it turns around and impales Eddie, making the official tally thousands, Losers Club still 0. But what Pennywise doesn't realize is that he's inadvertently sacrificed the last token on behalf of the Losers Club, because Eddie is Richie's true token. Remember when I said that we'd come back to this later? Well, Richie is the most interesting case out of all the Losers Club, because not only has he not fully gotten over his fear, he's never really owned up to it in either movie in the first place. Richie's secret is that he's gay, but we're shown at the beginning of the movie that Derry is not exactly a woke environment. We see that Richie never talks about being gay. He actively hides it. He even masquerades as a straight guy in a stand-up routine.
So my girlfriend caught me
politely observing
her friend's Facebook page.
During his treasure hunt midway through the movie, he picks up a literal token from an arcade, which, sure, is associated with a painful memory of being bullied, but the real token of his fear isn't a thing, it's a person. When Eddie sacrifices himself for Richie down in Pennywise's caverns, Richie finally realizes how much he truly loved Eddie, and how much their friendship has mattered to both of them. The death of Eddie is surprisingly also the destruction of the last token, Richie's token. In Eddie's death, Richie for the first time sees that you should show how you feel without fear, shame, and regret. And with
Yeah,
that,
true.
suddenly all tokens are properly destroyed. All fears are properly overcome. Pennywise, by killing Eddie, delivers the thing that the Losers Club needed in order to complete the ritual of Chewed. This time, the right way. He inadvertently does himself in. If you think it's still a stretch that Eddie is the real final token here, well, look no further than the moments leading up to Richie being caught in the deadlights. Richie goes up and starts actively insulting Pennywise to its face, and it does nothing.
Hey,
lame person,
you want to play truth or dare? You're a sloppy...
doo-doo head.
Pennywise is getting insulted here, and yet he is not affected by it in the slightest. But if we fast forward exactly 4 minutes later in the movie, the losers defeat him using the exact same technique, insulting the clown to death. So what happened in between those two moments? The only major change to happen in that 4-minute span is Eddie's death. The book and the movie of it have pretty different representations of the ritual of Chewed and all the events leading up to
Yeah,
it. But
so
there's one
different.
piece of the story that remains true in both versions. The losers can't defeat it until Eddie dies. He dies the same way in both versions too, and after he does, and only after he does, are the losers able to defeat it, either by punching Pennywise to death like in the book, or verbally abusing him to death until he's like a deflated balloon like in the movie. Everything else around the ritual can change, but Eddie's death has to remain in the story because it's his act of love that helps Richie overcome his fears. The movie closes with Richie finishing the carving he made when he was younger, R+E, with the message that you should be who you want to be and be proud. And that, my friends, is how Pennywise defeated himself and what everyone, including the Losers Club themselves, misunderstood about the ending of It Chapter 2. But hey, that's just
Penny
a
not wise,
theory.
really.
A film
Theory.
And cut.
Man, that's really, really interesting, and actually, it actually makes sense, to be honest, guys. Is there anything in the end? No? Okay, there's nothing. So there was a film theory how Pennywise beat Pennywise. So that, I mean, that was really emotional that Richie's token was Eddie. Man, I mean, to be honest, I never really think about that, guys. I'm pretty sure most of us didn't really think about this, you know, because, well, we kind of read the book is way different than the movie was, and then when the ritual of Chut is actually happening, like, again, I don't understand how they actually beat Pennywise by saying bad stuff to him, you know, because I was like, okay, that's really interesting, but also kind of lame, you know, but after seeing this video, it actually makes sense, you know, why why the Losers Club managed to beat Pennywise. And so literally Pennywise uses his own power to help the Losers Club to overcome their fear, and then manage to defeat him, which is kind of kind of weird and poetic in their own way, you know. But yeah, I mean, Richie's token was Eddie. Man, I mean, don't get me wrong, it's a film theory, you know. I don't know if the director or Stephen King himself is gonna confirm this theory. I don't know, but I like to think this might be true, because if you guys really think about it, it's actually really makes sense, you know, for the ending of It Chapter 2, and I think it's gonna make the movie a lot more emotional, you know, especially with that Reddy, you know, fandom, you know, Richie and Eddie fandom, you know what I mean, and yeah, this theory is actually makes much more sense, to be honest. I'm not gonna lie, and I think I might agree with this theory, you know, because again, it makes much more sense, and then I think it's completely understandable in a way, you know, watching this theory and then probably go back and watch the movie again. And yeah, this was really, really interesting, to be honest. And honestly, I really can't wait to see, especially in chapter one and chapter two, is they're gonna have like a director's cut, which is 6.5 hours long. So I really can't wait to see that, and maybe they're gonna change the ending. Who knows? Um, but yeah, guys, there was a film theory by matpat once again. If you guys want to watch the original video, I would put a link in the description below, and make sure you guys check the film theories channel. Make sure you guys subscribe to matpat's channel, show him some support. This guy is really is really good, on obser observing this kind of stuff. Especially if he has a point that every single time I look at chapter 2 and they explain, like they never really explain all that kind of stuff. They probably explain some stuff, but not entirely. And in this one, I can say that that matpat might explain in the entire ending of it chapter 2, and in my mind it actually makes sense, in some capacity at least. So yeah, good for you, matpat. Keep it up. But yeah, once again, guys, make sure you guys check his channel. He got the game theories channel, film theories channel. Make sure you guys subscribe to his channel, show him some support once again. And if you guys enjoy my reaction video, please leave a like, comment, subscribe to this channel, and maybe share this video to your friends or family. And yeah, guys, and I really hope you guys enjoy this video, and I will see you guys in the next one then. Bye.